Next to Maya's name, a red circle and the note special case. Contact H.W. Ramirez's voice was flat, like someone reading failure rates. Diana Johnson died last year in a car accident. Brakes failed. Not a manufacturer issue. Something cut the line. Andrew felt his gut drop. So Maya's paperwork? Missing. Officially, she never existed in the orphanage system after closure. A quiet horror set in, the kind engineers feel when they realize the specs were forged from the start. Meanwhile, in Leon's workshop behind the house, Maya was rewiring an old radio for fun. You fix it? Leon asked, leaning against the doorway. Maya grinned. Loose solder joint, signal path was fine. Leon chuckled. You see systems like other people see cartoons. She twirled the emerald ring. Uncle, I met a man, rich man. His Mustang overheated. I fixed it. He got weird when he saw my ring. Leon froze so hard the air seemed to stop around him. Renee appeared at the door, face tight. Maya, honey, remember when we said we'd tell you more about Diana when you were older? Maya looked from one to the other. Diana had been a nurse at Little Angels. When the orphanage shut down suddenly, men in suits arrived, children disappeared into adoptions that weren't adoptions, and paperwork burned. Diana had taken Maya and run, changed names, went silent, always listening for the sound of a car that didn't belong. She left this for you, Renee said, handing Maya a yellowed envelope. She made us swear you'd only read it if someone from the Whitakers found you. Maya's hands shook as she read Diana's neat writing. My dear Maya, if you're reading this, they've found you. You were never just an orphan to them. You were a test case. You do something rare. You understand machines the way some people understand language. They were hunting children like you. The ring is not just jewelry inside, it is proof. If anything happens to me, trust Leon and Renee. Trust the reporter Marcus Hayes. Protect yourself. Ever seen a 10-year-old outthink a Billionaire's engineering team in under a minute stick with me? Because one roadside fix, one tiny ring, and one broken Mustang are about to expose a system that was never meant to be seen. The late afternoon sun hit hard enough to make the rural asphalt shimmer as Maya Johnson trudged home from school. Backpack rubbing against her shoulders, heat pressing down like a lid. She was 10, small for her age, braids bouncing, and wearing an oversized MIT t-shirt her Uncle Leon had found at a thrift store because he said you should dress for the future you're building. Up ahead on the shoulder of the two-lane road that cut through their mostly black community 2 hours outside Boston, a red Shelby GT500 Mustang sat with its hood lifted, steam drifting out like a distress signal. Beside it paced a man who couldn't have blended in less if he'd tried. White mid-40s sharp suit, polished shoes now dusted by gravel, shouting into a phone as if volume could bend physics. I don't care what you charge. I've been stuck here for 2 hours. I have a meeting with the governor in less than 3, and this car is dead. He slapped his gold watch, then glared into the engine bay like it had personally betrayed him. Maya slowed. Aunt Renee's rule was simple. Don't talk to strangers, especially the kind who look like they've never had to change their own tire. But Maya had grown up in Leon's backyard workshop, learning engines the way other kids learned cartoons. And there was something about the man's panic that felt less like danger and more like a stuck problem begging to be solved. She adjusted her backpack, feeling the small clink of tools inside the emergency kit Leon insisted she carried, because machines fail in predictable ways, but people fail in surprising ones. She walked closer, voice careful but steady. Excuse me, sir? Need help with your car? The man spun around. That's sweet of you, kid, but this is a high-performance vehicle. I need a real mechanic. Maya shrugged the way engineers do when someone makes a bad assumption. My uncle runs a garage. He's taught me since I could hold a wrench. I can at least take a look. Before he could object, she'd set her bag down and leaned into the engine bay with the quiet confidence of someone who's already spent 100 hours staring at diagrams and broken parts. When did it start? Son, she asked. He sighed, half dismissive, half desperate. Overheated about 40 minutes ago. Temp gauge climbed fast, then it shut down. Smelled. Weird. Maya's eyes moved like a scanner. Not wandering, tracking. Sweet smell? Like syrup? He blinked. Yes. How did you? Coolant, she said, pointing not at the shiny supercharger, but at the boring stuff that keeps power alive. She crouched, tapped the ground. See that puddle? You're leaking from the radiator hose. Pressure drops, coolant boils, engine cooks itself. Mustang or lawnmower? Same thermodynamics. Andrew Whitaker, CEO of Whitaker Enterprises, owner of half of Boston's commercial real estate, a man who thought in balance sheets and deadlines, stared at her like she just recited his childhood address. "What's your name?" he asked more softly than he meant to Maya. "Maya Johnson." She held up a grease-stained hand. He shook it hesitant, almost embarrassed by the contrast. "Andrew Whitaker." She didn't react to the name. People in her town didn't follow Boston power families. She just nodded and dug into her bag. "I think I can patch it for now." She pulled out a small metal case, unwrapped heat-resistant tape, and worked fast finding the split hose, drying it, wrapping with overlapping tension like she'd done in Leon's shop a dozen times. Andrew watched, fascinated against his will. Every move she made was methodical: diagnosis first, minimal intervention second, verify third. That should hold to get you to... The orphanage closed days later under a fog of financial irregularities. The girl vanished. The promise evaporated into his father's corporate machinery. Andrew swallowed. "That ring, where did you get it?" Maya glanced down. "It was my mom's, adoptive mom, Diana. She died last year." Her voice tightened, a grief line running through it like a crack you can't polish out. "She said it meant a promise. She never said from who." Andrew's jaw worked as if he was trying to reverse engineer his own past. He offered her a ride home, saying it was the least he could do. She hesitated, then nodded, her aunt's warnings competing with her uncle's trust in people who need help. During the short drive, he asked careful questions the way a good investigator does when he's pretending not to investigate. "You've lived here long?" "Since I was 3, before that." "I don't know much. I was adopted from Little Angels." The words hit him like a dropped wrench on concrete. "Little Angels?" he repeated too sharply. "Yeah, you know it?" He forced air into his lungs. "A long time ago." When they reached her modest, well-kept house, Maya hopped out and thanked him. He handed her a card. "If you ever need anything, call me, please." She took it with a puzzled smile and ran inside. Andrew sat there watching the ring sparkle in the sun until the shimmer blurred. The moment she fixed his Mustang, she'd unknowingly tightened a bolt on a chain that ran through his family's entire empire. By nightfall, his private investigator Ramirez had orders. Find Diana Johnson's history, find Little Angel's records, find why that ring is on that child's hand. 3 sleepless nights later, Andrew stared at enlarged photographs of the ring and the tiny crescent flaw as Ramirez laid out an ugly timeline. 12 years ago, Andrew's father, Howard Whitaker, had purchased the Little Angels property for a fraction of its value. A new Horizon Project luxury complex was now being built on the same land. Maya's heart hammered. She looked down at the ring like it had turned from treasure into a fuse. Across the city, Howard Whitaker flew in from Florida without warning. In the glass conference room at Whitaker Enterprises, he slammed a file down in front of Andrew. "Why are you digging up Little Angels? I told you that matter was dead." Andrew didn't flinch. "Because Maya Johnson is alive. She has the ring. And she can do things, Dad. She fixed a GT500 leak in minutes." Howard's expression shifted into something colder than anger calculation. And Andrew's voice went quiet. "We promised her safety. You promised. Something else." Howard laughed once, dry and sharp. "You still don't get it. Some children are assets. Talent like that doesn't happen often. You think the military doesn't pay for minds that can see failure points instantly? Why do you think we bought the orphanage? Horizon was never just real estate. It was cover." Andrew felt sick, like seeing a blueprint where the load paths all lead to collapse. He walked out of that meeting to call Prosecutor Claire Bennett. "That's her. Yes, Mr. Whitaker Sr. wants her brought in." They didn't see Leon parked across the street, already dialing Marcus Hayes, the reporter Diana had trusted. "I've got proof," Leon said. "And they're coming for her." By afternoon, the 50th floor conference room was packed with executives, tension buzzing like high voltage. Andrew walked in a different kind of calm, the kind you get after deciding to burn the old design to save the system. Beside him stood Claire Bennett, badge visible. "Sorry I'm late. Dad, Claire has questions about Project Prometheus." A silence fell so hard you could hear ventilation. Prometheus was the code name they never said out loud. The program to identify, test, and exploit special children, Howard hissed. "What the hell are you doing?" Andrew connected his laptop to the screen. "Exposing the truth. Documents lit the wall-closed institutions, falsified records, payments, photos of children in labs. 48 kids, Andrew said. You broke their lives for patents and defense contracts. You closed 5 orphanages in 15 years to hide it. Howard sputtered about corporate theft. Andrew's reply was crisp. These documents show unauthorized experimentation on minors, bribery, intimidation, murder. A video played security footage from Little Angels. Diana running at night with toddler Maya. Then Howard's voice in another clip. Find her. The girl has significant military potential. We can't lose her. The doors opened again. Maya walked in with Leon, Renee, and Marcus Hayes holding a camera already live. She was small in that ocean of suits, but she stood straight. Maya, Andrew said softly, almost pleading, you didn't have to come. Yes, I did, she said, voice steady. Diana said someday I'd face the men who made us run. Howard looked her over like a spec sheet. So you're Project 17. I expected more. Height. Maya met his stare. And you're the man who cut my mother's brakes. Howard smiled like a man who thinks he owns the rules of evidence. You can't prove that. Maya reached into her backpack and pulled out the ring. With careful fingers, she twisted the emerald, revealing a hidden slot. From inside, she slid a tiny storage device. She hid this in the ring, Maya said. Backups of everything. Your meetings with military doctors, the adoption lists, the experiments, all of it. As Howard was cuffed, Maya walked up close enough for him to hear the tremble she refused to show. My mother taught me broken machines can be fixed, she said, but broken people have to fix themselves. You'll have time for that now. The empire fell in real time. Whitaker Enterprises stock cratered. Investigations spilled decades of corruption into the light. Andrew lost the inheritance he'd been groomed for, but something in his posture changed, like a structure relieved of a toxic load. 5 inventors, a sprawling campus of labs and workshops built on the same land where Little Angels had once stood. Sensors in the East Wing are drifting again, she said to the engineers behind her, already opening a panel and tracing the fault like it was obvious. It usually was to her. At the back of the center, Andrew, in jeans now instead of suits, spoke to donors about the Prometheus Initiative Reborn as a program to find gifted kids in marginalized communities and fund them with 0 contracts, 0 secrets, 0 exploitation. 23 new scholars this quarter, he said. Full scholarships. Mentorship. Ownership of their work stays with them. In prison, Howard Whitaker sat in a cell still convinced he'd rebuild, unable to grasp that systems don't reset when the world sees the logs. At the Johnson Center's graduation, 12 teens crossed the stage with job offers and college acceptances, and Maya, too young to graduate, but already the person people leaned on when a circuit wouldn't behave, gave the closing speech. When I was 10, I fixed a stranger's car on the side of a road, she said, turning the emerald ring that now meant something different. That little fix exposed a broken system. And here's what engineers know. If a system is broken at the foundation, you don't just patch it, you redesign it. That's what we're doing here. Building something better than what tried to use us. Andrew wiped his eyes in the back row, not for his lost empire, but for the one he was finally helping build right. The next day, a letter arrived from Victoria Whitaker, Howard's daughter, and now a federal prosecutor who had renounced the family name. We found 5 more orphanages with programs like Little Angels, it read. Because of your evidence, we've protected 37 more children. Some have talents like yours. When you're ready, they want to meet you. Maya read it aloud with Leon, Renee, and Andrew sitting around the same workbench where she'd fixed radios as a kid. Silence settled closure, but not an ending. Andrew exhaled. You know what's ironic? Dad always said he was building a legacy, and he did, just not the one he wanted. Maya looked out at kids in the garden testing drones they'd built from scratch. Real power was never in buildings or bank accounts, she said. It's in what you choose to do with your mind and your hands for other people. As the sun set, a sign at the entrance caught the light. Every talent deserves to flourish. Every child deserves freedom. A promise engineered from the ashes of a past they refuse to repeat. And if this story hit you the way a good design does, clean, surprising, and built on courage, stick around, because the world is full of hidden talent in unlikely